Hi. What are some of the top legal developments that have impacted women and women lawyers? And what are the issues that lie ahead? Hi, my name is Peter Kramer. I'm the Digital Communications Coordinator with the State Bar of Wisconsin, and today I'm joined by Nancy Kopp, a commissioner with the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Attorney Kopp has been here at the State Bar of Wisconsin's annual meeting and conference in Green Bay discussing this and other issues, and I'd like to just welcome Attorney Kopp.
Thank you.
So I want to kick off this conversation by just highlighting that we're celebrating 150 years of women practicing law in Wisconsin, and so which is very exciting. And what do you think have been some of the most important developments in law during that time?
Well, I think since 1874, when Lavinia Goodell became the first woman lawyer in Wisconsin, it took years and years for the number of women in Wisconsin to be appreciable. It was really dribs and drabs, and it took literally 5 decades, I think, to have even a couple hundred women. And since that time, thankfully, the number of women lawyers has grown by leaps and bounds, and to the point where now not only are more than half of women law students, women make up more than 50% of law students, and in some cases appreciably more than that. And so we are, as a result, seeing large numbers of women also becoming judges, becoming justices on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Of course, we have 6 out of 7 justices, 86%. And women are taking on all sorts of leadership positions, becoming managing partners in large law firms. And so, really, although we still have a ways to go, they are stepping up and earning equality in many more areas.
So you mentioned that I think according to the ABA in 2023, roughly 40% of practicing lawyers are female, mm-hmm. and now with law students, I think it's like about 56% are women. And so my question to you is how do you feel that the practice of law has changed as women have become more a part of that profession?
Well, for me personally, because I graduated from law school in December of 1983, so even in my own lifetime, in my own practice experience, there really is a world of difference in how, especially young women lawyers, are treated. I was an associate at Foley & Lardner, which is Wisconsin's largest law firm, for a few years, and I practiced in Madison, where women lawyers in the mid-1980s in Madison were not a rare thing. There were quite a few around, and nonetheless, on numerous occasions, I was mistaken for the court reporter. My favorite probably was I walked into a pretrial conference in Dane County Circuit Court, walked in to see a room with probably 8 men. I was the only woman, and somebody, I don't know who he was, looked up and said, "You must be the plaintiff's wife." And so I'm hoping, I don't think that kind of thing is particularly common anymore, certainly not in Dane County. You wouldn't have that. And that's a good thing. And so I just think women generally now are able to have a seat at most tables, not all. Again, we still have a ways to go. But I think that even in the 40 years that I've been in practice, that there has been a market change and a market improvement.
So as more women then come into the profession, how do you foresee the profession changing then in the years ahead?
My hope is that in, let's say the next 30 or 40 years, that women will make up a larger percentage of, say, managing partners at larger firms, because I think that is one area where women are still lagging behind. And of course, part of that is that firms in general have to change just their work structure and allow, for instance, women to go have time to raise a family or take leave time and so forth. And that's something I'm hoping is sort of in the works. And again, I think that the managing partners of firms now are of an age where they grew up maybe with working mothers. I mean, this isn't half a century ago where the managing partners were all men. Their wives stayed at home. and that's where they sort of thought they should be, and so therefore they didn't treat women associates coming on, necessarily as equals. So I'm hoping that, as another generation comes up, that there is actually more full equality, even in large firms.
So, and you kind of touched on this with your own past experience, but what kind of challenges then do you feel like remain for women entering the legal profession?
I think it remains harder for women to have a work-life balance, and unfortunately, in many families, it's still the woman who bears the brunt of the child-raising, house, minding duties. And I'm hoping that, as I just said, that there's maybe some more flexibility. I think possibly one of the advantages that came out of the pandemic, if we can say it that way, is a lot of firms, a lot of businesses were giving more flexibility, and some have continued that, where there's at least maybe somebody can work at home one day a week, or do things remotely, and I'm hoping that will be the wave of the future.
So my final question then to you is, what legal issues then do you feel have particular relevance for women today, and how do you feel then that maybe female attorneys are maybe uniquely positioned to sort of assist with those?
Well, of course, the issue that springs to mind most sitting here today is reproductive rights. I think that's obviously a major issue, and I think that women, being the ones who reproduce, are uniquely qualified and also uniquely interested in handling those types of cases. Or if legislation is needed, in pursuing legislation.
Very interesting. Well, it's an interesting topic, and we live in a historic time, 150 years later.
Yes.
Nancy Kopp, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.